Rabbi Moshe Otero. I want to welcome you this morning to our morning class, and we're going to continue our series on the Sefer Ikkarim. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And people are joining right now our class in the morning, and we're going to continue studying and learning Sefer Ikkarim. That is Sefer Ikkarim, and this is Rabbi Moshe Otero with the ways of Israel. So let's get right into it, our class in the morning. And we're now in book 3 of Sefer Ikkarim, chapter 4, where Rabbi Albo begins speaking about that everything that exists in accordance with its natural capacity can easily acquire its appropriate quality and perfection. We're talking about acquiring quality and perfection, according to his topic in chapter 4. No matter to what species the thing belongs to, the observation is clear that when we examine the various kinds of perfection peculiar to human species, we observe that the individual properly formed in strong constitution acquires good health without effort, or work health is always there. There are others who have a good health as in the intimate quality, but they also must do something and engage in an exercise or take walks or maintain their health. There are also others that again of those whose constitution of health is not so intimate a quality, and who must take great pains and make special efforts to maintain their health. But if they try hard, they achieve perfect health, says Rabbi Albo. There are others whose constitution is so poor that they may try even harder and yet cannot acquire perfect health. But with slight effort, they acquire something like health. They prevent their illness from increasing. The same thing applies to wisdom or with wealth. Some acquire wisdom and wealth with little effort, some only after great toil, and some cannot acquire it at all, with all the labor in the world, but only a certain degree of wisdom or wealth. The same holds true of everything in relationship to its appropriate perfection. The first cause being sufficient in itself for maintaining in act to its own proper perfection, needs to act of its own or of another to acquire any perfection. The separate intelligence, being free from the matter, always have the perfection which is proper to them, and need to act of their own to acquire their perfection, except the act of causing others to move. Example, the spheres. The spheres, on the other hand, though they have intelligent souls, as all wise men agree, yet since they have matter, cannot acquire the perfection appropriate to their nature, except by doing something in their own person, merely move, namely move. The act of motion confers upon the intellectual soul its perfection, for as the soul resides in the body, it also requires a corporeal act to attain the perfection appropriate to its nature. And yet, these spheres differ one from another in this act. The noblest and the most perfect of the spheres, the diurnal sphere, needs only one simple act to retain the perfection appropriate in nature, namely, the diurnal motion, which is one simple motion. The sphere of the fixed stars, being further away from the nobility and perfection than diurnal spheres, must have two motions of diurnal motion, and in his own proper motion. Of the other spheres, everyone needs more acts to attain it proper perfection, according as it farther from nobility. And this is why the spheres have different motions, one having more motions than another, according to its farther from the attainment of its perfection. And thus we find that some of the planets, and especially the moon, have many different motions, says Rabbi Albo. For by reason of the moon's distance from nobility, it needs more acts than other spheres, so that way through this many motions, the many moons can acquire the perfection appropriate to its nature. The philosopher agrees with this view in the third Summa of the second book of the treatise of Decayo et Mundo. This shows that no material being can attain perfection appropriate to its nature except by doing corporeal acts, which are completed by the body. And therefore the spheres must move in order that they may attain the perfection which is appropriate to their souls, since they are powers. These are powers that resides in the body, and it follows also that when man, who is a material being, whose matter is the thicket and coarser than matter of the spheres, must necessarily have more activity than the spheres, in order that the multiplicity of the acts he may attain the perfection appropriate to his name, the perfection of his intellectual soul. For it is possible for a man to attain this through intellectual contemplation alone, without any practical activity. The sphere could accomplish this even more easily, and would not have to move to do corporeal acts to acquire perfection. The fact is, however, that no material being can acquire any perfection without the corporeal acts. As for the irrational animal, they are far removed from the degree of being endowed with souls, and cannot by reason of their nature attain individual immortality, because they are devoid of reason. They were given, therefore, a mode of immortality which bears some similarity to the immortality of other beings who have souls, namely immortality of species. This immortality can be attained through one act or a few, because this is a perfection far from perfection of other beings who are endowed with souls, individual immortality. But in the case of a man, since he has the capacity of individual immortality by reason of his rational soul, like the spheres, but it also is far removed from the degree of the latter. He has been given a great variety of acts through which he may correct his deficiencies and attain the same kind of degree which the spheres attain with one or a few acts. It's clear that not all acts give perfection to the souls, but only those which are proper. Moreover, those acts do not give perfection to the soul, insofar as they are purely corporeal. For in the case, all corporeal beings endowed with an animal soul should attain that perfection. On the other hand, man, being a material being, cannot attain human perfection, though intellectual contemplation alone, without practical activity, as we have explained in reference to the spheres, that being possessed of matter, they must have a corporeal form of activity, and such as motion, through which the activity they may attain the spiritual perfection appropriate to the nature. It follows, therefore, as we see, that thing which gives perfection to a being having a matter as well as intellectual soul must be something composed of corporeal activity and an intellectual contemplation. The practical activity does not give perfection by virtues of being its corporeal, by merely being corporeal, but by reason of intellectual comprehension which is involved in the act, as we have explained, says Rabbi Albo. The act which is done in such a way, namely, that it's a composite of a corporeal act and an intellectual conception, is the one that gives perfection to the soul. And these are the activities we mentioned before, which follows man's rational form and issues from it, not merely understanding of the intellectual conception and those who follow the philosophical thinking or thought. And here ends Rabbi Albo, his fourth chapter in the book number 3. And as we will see in our next video, chapter 5, he speaks about intellectual conception as giving perfection to the soul when combined with practical activity. And so we'll take a look at that chapter in our next video. I want to thank you for being with us. And remember to help and be part of the Ways of Israel, which you can do so easily just by going to our group page here on this Facebook page and download membership. Membership is only $100 a year, and this way you help support the Ways of Israel by your annual membership fee. So be part of what you're doing. But you say, Rabbi, I don't want to sign up for membership, but can I give you a donation? Definitely, we do accept it. Right below, you'll find the link of how you can donate right now, and we will be gratefully humbled, as it were, for your gift of whatever size you wish to give the ways of Israel, or Los Caminos Israel, which is the corporate name. And thank you for being with us. May God bless you with health, with healings, and all good things, now and forever. Shalom, shalom.